4. Julie Kalin is the only candidate here, and we apologize for you being interrupted there. I am very glad that I was able to fulfill the most important and most sacred responsibility of the television media, which is to troubleshoot the AV here.
Yay.
But now that we have that worked out, we appreciate your patience and invite you to take 1 minute to introduce yourself and tell us why you're running.
Thank you. I'm Julie Kalin. I know most of you. I'm very happy to be here tonight. I love the old Louisville Dems. I lived in Old Louisville for a long time. I've been practicing law for 13 years. Most of that time I've been practicing criminal defense, but in private practice, which I've been doing for the last 8 years, I've also had the ability to kind of branch out every now and then from criminal defense. And I've been lucky to represent some domestic violence victims and do some other family court cases. And I do a lot of EPO, domestic violence order cases as well. The reason that I decided to run for judge, I never thought that I would run for judge, ever. I didn't want to. Running for office is not something that was ever seemed to be in my wheelhouse. However, as I'm sure many of the lawyers that are here and that practice here in Louisville can tell you, we have a bit of an issue in Louisville with electing people who don't necessarily have the experience to sit on the bench, but have a very popular last name and or a lot of money, and are able to get onto the bench and in that position, in my opinion, undeservedly. So that is why I decided to run. I'm hoping to change that.
All right. Thank you, and we would ask everybody, in the interest of fairness, to observe the time.
Yes, I'm sorry.
The red card is again 15 seconds. All right. As a district court judge, what ways would you assist defendants who have jobs to be able to attend court or have their cases heard without fear of losing their jobs in order to go through the court process?
This is something that I've dealt with a lot as a criminal defense lawyer. In Louisville, we're lucky that we generally don't require defendants to be present when they're only charged with a misdemeanor. That is not true for felony offenses. However, there are court dates where a defendant needs to be present and needs to personally know what's going on, and there are court dates where they don't. As a private practice criminal defense lawyer and as a public defender, I would try to request a waiver of my client's appearance if I felt that it was unlikely we would be doing anything substantive on a particular court date. Some judges are more willing to go with that than others, but I do think that it's important for every defendant's lawyer to have a good enough grasp of what to expect to be able to request that accommodation when necessary. I think judges need to be cognizant of how being charged with a crime can affect a person's employment if they go to jail, if they have to be in court, if they're on home incarceration, if they have to report to NCR, all of those things.
Thank you. Juveniles are being charged with an increasing percentage of violent crime in the Louisville Metro. What steps can you take as a district court judge to address this? Is opening juvenile court part of the solution?
You know, I'm not a proponent of opening juvenile court. I'm just not. There are, as Tracy Davis said earlier, the science behind the brain of any person is that it is not fully developed until they're in their mid-20s. And in Kentucky, our juvenile code is written in a way that says when we have someone who is not an adult yet, we don't treat them like an adult. We do everything in our power to keep them from coming back into the system. And I believe we should do that, and opening it up, just in my opinion, really sets them up for failure potentially.
District court does deal with the pretrial release and pretrial decisions. What do you think of the proposals by Rand Paul and others to move to a fully cashless bail system?
I support eliminating cash bail. Now, there is a caveat to that. I've been studying cash bail reform for a very long time as a criminal defense lawyer and a proponent of eliminating cash bail. And what we have found is that in some places, the elimination of cash bail has led to incarcerating more people rather than less. So it's a balance. I do practice in federal court, and I kind to look at cases as thoroughly as they do in federal court. In federal court, either you're presumed that you're going to be detained, or it's presumed that you're not going to be detained. And then evidence gets introduced. I've had 3-hour-long bond hearings in federal court because they have time to do it. So it's a matter of figuring out how we can get to those things more quickly, and part of that's relying on pretrial reports.
Thank you, and we will once again give you the opportunity to close with the question, what's the single thing that can improve the justice system in Jefferson County the most? What would you as a district court judge do to bring that about?
The most important thing we could do to improve justice in Jefferson County and in any county and in any state across the country is money. A lot of the problems that we have are because we don't have money. A lot of the reasons that we have people coming in front of the court system is because they don't have money. So while I would love to wave a magic wand and fill our coffers and be able to hire more prosecutors and public defenders and clerks and pretrial workers and probation officers, right now, that's just not feasible. But one of the things that I think is so crucial for judges is to educate the public about exactly why not having money matters. I'm going to go a little bit off topic because I want to give a little bit of a shout out to the Serial podcast. This year, they're doing an in-depth look at the Cleveland criminal justice system, and it is so relevant to what we see in courthouses across the country, because people think that, people just don't really understand how court works until they have to become a part of it. I consistently invite people to come follow me in court. I think it's really important for people to know how things play out, but Serial's done a great job of making that message clear.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on now to some of the races where we do have both candidates with us tonight, and we're going to keep going in district court and move to 6th Division with Judge Delahanty and Ms. Langford.
30 seconds. You have 2 minutes. No, oh, here, I'm sorry, you want to hand these cards over here. Thank you. Here, Sean and Laura. Sorry, we're all going crazy here. Sir?
All right, once again, we'll begin with 1 minute. We will start with Judge Delahanty. If you could introduce yourself, you have 1 minute to do so.
I'm Judge Sean Delahanty, and for the past 20 years, I have served honorably as a Jefferson District Court judge. Before my election, I practiced law for 18 years. I was a private practitioner. I represented clients, both civil and criminal clients, in state and federal courts. I've tried over 50 trials to juries. The jury trials are an essential right of all Americans. One of the benefits is that for a judge, it's terrific experience, understanding the rules of evidence. And the other thing is, judges are responsible for conducting trials, and our job is administering justice. So I get to see more experienced lawyers who were judges while I was trying cases and their sense of justice. And I learned a terrific amount from trying those cases. I went to law school for the purpose of trying cases. That's what motivated me to get through law school. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Langford.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here at this venue. It's a great place to be. My name is Lisa L. Langford, and I'm running for Jefferson District Court. And what I'd like for you to know about me is that I have been in district court fighting every day or almost every day for justice as a prosecutor. And in that time, I have been in every single courtroom, and I have worked with or worked in front of at least 20 judges, if not more. And so my decision to run for judge is based on my experience with the 20 judges. I've seen good, better, and best. I've taken the best practices that I've learned and coupled those with the best practices that I have obtained for being a prosecutor, and I want to share those practices on the bench. And I look forward to being your next judge. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will move on to questions, and we're going to start with Judge Delahanty. Judge Delahanty, you are our first incumbent to be on our panel tonight. So we are going to start with a question addressing specifically your record. You took the unusual step of volunteering for an ongoing assignment in arraignment court. You've said publicly that that was so you could help reduce jail overcrowding. How have you done that? What else can district court do to alleviate jail overcrowding?
Well, now I have surrendered the responsibility of the arraignment court docket. I serve on the Jail Policy Review Committee. I've been on that committee for 5 years. It has all the people in the community that have an interest in attempting to control the jail population. I serve on the Chief Justice's Bail Reform Committee. That's Chief Justice Minton. And this is a very difficult subject to answer in a minute or two. One of the things, so with the Jail Policy Review Committee, we are now meeting monthly in an effort to bring our jail population into compliance or to fit the space that we have. There are 1,800 jail spaces in the jail. Now, Tom, does that mean 15 seconds or stop?
15.
Okay. And we've been above 1,800 capacity for about 5 years. And what we're trying to do is to avoid a federal takeover of our jail as they did in the 80s. And it's just really not enough time to truly address that question.
I understand that. I appreciate you complying with the time cues. However, Ms. Langford, would you like to address what you as a district court judge could do to address jail overcrowding?
Absolutely. I am going to support any initiatives that would either eliminate bail on lower level offenses or route defendants or would-be defendants to other avenues, such as the LEAD project that has gotten a lot of press recently. It began October the 1st, and it involves lower level drug offenses. Officers in the Russell neighborhood and Portland neighborhood are currently finding people who are willing to go into a program. And so instead of moving them into the jail, they are taking them to the Volunteers of America for treatment. And as long as they are willing to go to that treatment, they will never go to jail. It is only if they fail to fulfill the requirements. So there are programs such as this, and then not placing bonds on lower level offenses such as traffic offenses, marijuana, etc., that will help keep the jails light.
Thank you. And if I do want to introduce, since this is our first race with both candidates, part of our format tonight, if either candidate would like an additional minute in order to rebut or elaborate, in this case, on the previous answer, raise your hand and we'd be happy to offer that to you. Judge Delahanty.
One of the initiatives that we haven't really addressed yet, but the Jail Policy Review Committee is advancing, is to get a change in the approach to bench warrants that are issued in court. Because a full third of the people who are arrested have bench warrants. And what we're trying to do is to say, okay, let's have some sense to the amount of the bench warrant. Because these are people we are mad at. We're not really afraid of them. They just can't, they can't manage to come back to court. So should we clog up our jail with people who just are inattentive or maybe overwhelmed with life? Now, that's going to take all of the players to participate. And right now, we have been pushing, and again, in district court, that's most of the traffic. And we've been pushing to get the county attorney's office to get on board with this and to appreciate just how taxing it is on our system, excessive bail for bench warrants.
Thank you. Ms. Langford, do you want additional time?
I'll tag on to Judge Delahanty. I'm happy to hear that prosecutors, judges, and the public defender's office have been meeting to make changes, and that would be something that I would certainly be willing to do. And as Judge mentioned, we have recently decided that people with traffic offenses should not be getting bench warrants. Those folks are getting letters sent to their home when they miss court, or they're getting what's called a DOT, which sends a letter to the Department of Transportation, and if they don't come to court, their license will be suspended, but they will not go to jail. So that is helping.
Thank you. Now, the next question is going to be directed to Ms. Langford. We're going to give you the first opportunity to answer. Judges don't punch a clock. What are your thoughts on the judicial workload? Are district court judges working as efficiently as possible to speed up the judicial process?
Thank you for that question. Again, as I mentioned, I have worked for or in front of over 20 judges, so I've seen a variety of ways. I know there are judges that are there from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or later if needed, and I admire those judges, and I think that's the way judges should be. We have all types of hearings, trials that take you late into the night, and then we have some other judges that want their hair or nail appointments. So, you know, I've seen it all, and I believe that those judges have not fully taken their responsibility at the bench. I would be the type of judge that I would be there from 9 to 5. If it requires to be there later, then I'm more happy to do that. We have some hearings that are scheduled at 8:30 to accommodate the public or officers. We are there to do the job and to serve justice. Thank you.
Judge Diane.
That's an interesting question, and part of it is that the workload in Jefferson County and District Court is enormous. The statistics vary. The last statistic that I got said that we processed 170,000 criminal cases in District Court last year. Now, the National Center for State Courts came and to the state of Kentucky, and the decision that they were trying to make was, is the state of Kentucky properly judged? They couldn't create any new judgeships, so they got a limited amount of judgeships. And the question is, are the judges where the business is, where the work is? And in District Court in Jefferson County, they decided that we were underjudged by about 2.5 judges. So the workload, we have 17 judges who are doing the workload of 19.5. And the other thing is, there are judges who deserve vacations just like any other human being. The responsibility of a judge is very taxing, very demanding, and very stressful. So a couple of the judges would be nice, but again, it's a matter of money.
Thank you. Would either of you like to elaborate on that? If not, we'll move on to the next question. And we'll address this one initially to Judge Delhany. As you know, Kentucky was the pilot for the Public Safety Assessment Tool, which was designed to make pretrial decisions more equitable, particularly to underrepresented groups. However, in July of this year, more than 100 civil rights groups signed a statement of concern, saying it's actually having the opposite effect. What's your stance on the PSA? What changes, if any, would you like to see?
I'm not sure that I've seen that information where people are challenging this, the biases, I guess, of our pretrial release instrument. Kentucky abolished bail bondsmen in 1978, which is a remarkable thing. I still don't know how it happened. It was one of the most corrupt, and it is still a continuing corruption of the justice system where bail bondsmen are created. This pretrial instrument has been validated. It has been studied by everybody in America. There was a group of people from Armenia that came to Kentucky to see what we're doing with our pretrial. Now, is it perfect? Of course, it's not perfect. But I don't know that there's any inherent bias to it. So I'm just not aware of the controversy. Now, the other thing is, my belief is a solution to any bias that might exist, as well as improve our jail overcrowding issue, would be to go to the no-cash bail system, and it's coming.
Ms. Langford, what's your stance on the public safety assessment tool?
I also have not heard this. As a prosecutor, I believe it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, because time does fly, we had a 3 to 4 hour training on using that tool, and I will be honest, the prosecutors were not very happy with how the numbers were coming out. We felt like things should have had more weight than they did. So what I will say is that as a judge, as long as we are using that system, then I will continue to use that as a tool, but I also believe we still have other factors that we're going to look at with regard to setting bonds, with regard to determining whether an individual gets HIP, because I do believe HIP is a privilege, and I'm sorry, home incarceration is HIP. And so, or to get a release. So I will be using all the tools available to me to make those decisions.
All right, next question will allow Ms. Langford to respond first. How can district court work together better with circuit and family court to make the entire judicial process run more smoothly?
That's a great question, and one that actually was being tossed around last week amongst some of us in the district court system. It is very tough, especially on public defenders, and they are